Hi there, my name is Kira and today I'm going to show you how to crochet these adorable little hedgehogs. This pattern is low sew and it works up really quickly, so I'm really excited to share it with you guys. If you're a beginner, check out the videos I have linked down below with tutorials for a magic ring and some of the other basic stitches that I'll be using in today's video. Let's go ahead and get started. For supplies, you'll need a pair of scissors, a 5mm crochet hook, a stitch marker and an embroidery needle, 20mm safety eyes, and some polyfill stuffing. For yarn today, I'll be using Keche velvet in the color Latte, a twist Posh yarn in the color Croissant, and a scrap piece of white plush yarn. First thing we're going to do is make the little feet for the hedgehog, and to do that I'm going to start by making 6 single crochet in a magic ring. For the next round, I'm going to make 6 increase stitches. And then I'm going to go ahead and place my stitch marker, and just for reference, I like to keep my stitch marker in the last stitch of every round rather than the first stitch of every round. For the next round, I'm going to make 1 single crochet and then an increase stitch, and I'm going to repeat that 6 times to go all the way around. So again, just 1 single crochet and then an increase stitch, and that's 2, so I'm going to do it 4 more times. For the next round, I'm just going to do 18 single crochet all the way around. For the next round, I'm going to do 1 single crochet and then a decrease stitch 6 times to go all the way around. So 1 single crochet and a decrease, and then I'm going to do that 5 more times. And then now's a good time to go ahead and add some stuffing into the foot. You don't need very much at all, but I'm just going to put a little bit of stuffing in here. And then for the last round here, I'm going to do 6 decrease stitches. So there's 1. And then to finish off the little foot, I'm just gonna kind of close these 2 top parts together here, and then make 3 single crochet going through both sides. And then you can go ahead and tie off the yarn. And you don't need to worry about leaving a tail because these will be crocheted into the body. Here is one of the little feet, and once you have made one, you want to go ahead and repeat these same steps to make 3 more so that you have 4 total of the little hedgehog feet. And then for now, I'm just going to go ahead and set these aside until we start working on the body. The next thing we're going to do is make one of the little ears. And to make the ear, you're going to go ahead and make 6 single crochet into a magic ring. And then the next thing I'm going to do is 1 single crochet and then an increase stitch, and I'm going to repeat this 3 times to go all the way around. So 1 single crochet and then an increase stitch, and then I'm going to do that 2 more times. And then for the next round, I'm going to make 2 single crochet and an increase stitch and repeat that 3 times all the way around. So 1, 2 single crochet and then an increase stitch. And then I'm just going to do that 2 more times. And then for the next round, I'm just going to make 12 single crochet around. And then to finish this off, I'm just going to use the tail for my magic ring here to stuff this, but I'm not going to add any stuffing to it. And then to finish off the ear, I'm just going to kind of fold these 2 ends together here and make 6 single crochet through both sides. And then I am going to leave a little bit of a tail on the ear so that we can sew this onto the body later. And before I do that, I'm just going to take the tail on my ear and thread it onto my embroidery needle. And then I'm going to take the ear here like this and kind of fold the bottom of it in half so it makes like a little circle shape. And then I'm just going to make a couple of stitches through the bottom of the ear to hold it in this kind of shape that we've made here. And then tie that off, and then you can use this leftover tail later to sew the ears onto the head. So here is one of the ears completed, and once you have one finished, you want to go ahead and repeat the same steps again to make a second ear. And then I'm going to go ahead and set these aside for now, and we will come back to them once we start working on the head. So now we're going to go ahead and get started on the body. And to make the body, I just have this brown colored yarn here. And I'm going to make 6 single crochet into a magic ring. And then for the next several rounds, we are going to be doing loop stitches to create kind of this fluffy, spiky pattern here. So anytime you're using the brown yarn moving forward, you're going to be making loop stitches. So for this next round, it's going to be 6 increase stitches, but they're also going to be loop stitches. And I'm going to insert I have a more in-depth tutorial on loop stitches that I will link down in the description, but just really quickly I will run through it. So we're going to do 6 increase stitches, so I need to do 2 single crochet in every stitch, and each of those single crochet needs to be a loop stitch. So to do a loop stitch, I'm going to use my thumb here to pull up a loop in front of my magic ring, and then I'm going to go into my next stitch on the left side of the loop that I just pulled up. So I'm going to go on the left side of that loop and put my hook into my next stitch, and then just make a regular single crochet. So there is one loop, and then again I'm going to pull up a loop with my thumb, go on the left side of this loop that I pulled up into the stitch, and then make a regular single crochet. So there was one increase stitch, and I have 2 loops, and I'm going to repeat this all the way around. And like I said, I do have a more in-depth tutorial on this that I will put down below in the description. So here is my first round of loop stitches, and now I'm just going to keep working on these stitches up around here at the top. For the next round, we're going to do 1 single crochet and then an increase stitch 6 times to go all the way around, and again these are all going to be loop stitches. So 1 single crochet and then an increase stitch, and then I'm going to do that 5 more times. For the next round, I'm going to make 2 single crochet and then an increase stitch and repeat that 6 times to go all the way around. So 1 and 2 single crochet, and again these are still all loop stitches, and then an increase, and I'm going to repeat that 5 more times to go all the way around. For the next round, I'm going to do 3 single crochet and then an increase stitch and repeat that 6 times to go all the way around. And once again, they're all loop stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and then an increase stitch. And then I'm going to repeat that 5 more times. So then for the next 3 rounds, I'm going to do 3 rounds of 30 single crochet around and 1 once again, you want all of these single crochets to be loop stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and do these rounds off camera, but I'll be right back to show you what to do next. And again, 3 rounds of 30 single crochet a round. So I just finished my 3 rounds of 30 single crochet, and this is what the body is looking like so far. This is so cute. And on this last loop stitch single crochet that I'm doing here, I am going to change colors to my kind of tan colored yarn. And then with the tan yarn, we are going to start the next round, and you don't have to do any more loop stitches for the body. You'll have to do some more on the head. But we are done with the loop stitches for now. And with my tan yarn for the next round, I'm going to start by grabbing one of my little feet, and in this next round we are going to be attaching all of the feet. So I'm going to line up this top part of the foot here with the next 3 stitches on the body. And to attach the foot, I'm just going to make 3 single crochet through both the foot and the body. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And don't forget to tie your color changes off. And then I'm going to make 3 single crochet, and I'm going to grab another one of my feet and attach it the exact same way. So I'm just going to line it up with the body and then make 3 single crochet through both the leg and the body. And then I'm going to go ahead and make 6 single crochet down the side here. And then I'm going to grab another foot and attach it the exact same way as the other 2. So just 3 single crochet through the foot and the body. And then I'm going to make another 3 single crochet. And then I'm going to grab my last foot and again make 3 single crochet through the foot and the body. And then I'm just going to finish off this round with 6 more single crochet. And then if you want, you can go ahead and cut these extra tails off to get them out of the way. For the next round, I'm going to make 3 single crochet and then a decrease stitch and repeat that 6 times to go all the way around. So there's 1, 2, and 3 single crochet, and then a decrease stitch, and then I'm just going to do that 5 more times. For the next round, I'm going to do 2 single crochet and then a decreased stitch and repeat that 6 times to go all the way around. So 1 and 2 single crochet and then a decreased stitch. And then I'm going to do that 5 more times. And then now is a good time to go ahead and add some stuffing into the body. And then as we continue to close this up, it might be helpful to just keep stuffing as you go. For the next round, I'm going to do 1 single crochet and then a decreased stitch and repeat that 6 times to go all the way around. So 1 single crochet and then a decrease. And then I'm going to do that 5 more times. And then to finish up the body here, I'm just going to make 6 decreases. And then you can go ahead and just tie off your yarn. And if you want, you can throw a little bit more stuffing into the belly. And then with the little tail that I have left on here, I'm just going to thread that onto my embroidery needle to close up this gap. And to do that, I'm just going to weave my embroidery needle in and out through each of these stitches here. And then once I've gone all the way around, I'm just going to pull it tight to close up that gap and then tuck this extra tail somewhere off into the side of the body just to get it out of the way. And then you can cut off any excess that you have. So here is the body all finished. If you would like, you can flip these feet onto kind of like the inside of the body and tack them down. They will sit a little bit more down once we sew the head on, or if you want to leave them sticking out kind of, like, that's totally fine too. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and set this aside and we will get started working on the head. So the first 8 rounds of the head are the exact same as the body. I will go through it with you again. So the first thing you want to do with your brown yarn is make 6 single crochet in a magic ring. And then for the next several rounds, we are going to be doing loop stitches. For the next round, you're going to make 6 increase loop stitches. So just 6 increase stitches, but make sure to do loop stitches. So here is my first round of loop stitches. And now I'm just going to keep working on these stitches up around here at the top. For the next round, we're going to do 1 single crochet and then an increase stitch 6 times to go all the way around. And again, these are all going to be loop stitches. So 1 single crochet and then an increase stitch. And then I'm going to do that 5 more times. For the next round, I'm going to make 2 single crochet and then an increase stitch and repeat that 6 times to go all the way around. So 1 and 2 single crochet, and again these are still all loop stitches, and then an increase, and I'm going to repeat that 5 more times to go all the way around. For the next round, I'm going to do 3 single crochet and then an increase stitch and repeat that 6 times to go all the way around. And once again, they're all loop stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and then an increase stitch. And then I'm going to repeat that 5 more times. So then for the next 3 rounds, I'm going to do 3 rounds of 30 single crochet around, and once again you want all of these single crochets to be loop stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and do these rounds off camera, but I'll be right back to show you what to do next. And again, 3 rounds of 30 single crochet around. So I just finished my 3 rounds of 30 single crochet around. And in this last stitch here, you want to make sure to change colors to your tan yarn. And then I'm going to go ahead and just tie off my color changes. And then for the first round with our tan yarn here, we are just going to do 30 single crochet around. And then for this next round, I'm gonna start by making 5 single crochet. And then I'm gonna make 3 single crochet and a decrease stitch 5 times, so that will be the rest of the way around. So 1, 2, 3 single crochet and then a decrease stitch. And then I'm gonna do that 4 more times. For the next round, I'm gonna start by making another 5 single crochet. And then I'm gonna make 2 single crochet and a decrease stitch 5 times to finish off the round. So 2 single crochet, there's 2, and then a decrease. And then I'm gonna do that 4 more times. And then again for the next round, I'm gonna just start by making 5 single crochet. And then I'm gonna make 1 single crochet and a decrease stitch 5 more times to finish off the round. So 1 single crochet and a decrease stitch. And then I'll do that 4 more times. And then now's a good time to go ahead and add some stuffing to the head. And then for the next round, once again, I'm gonna start by doing 5 single crochet. And then I'm gonna make 5 decrease stitches. And then before this gets too small, we need to go ahead and add in our safety eyes. So as I kind of said a second ago, this is going to be where our nose is, and where we've been doing our 5 single crochet is the bottom of the head. So these are just 18mm safety eyes, and before I add the eyes, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more stuffing so I can see better how the eyes will sit on the face. And if your loop stitches ever get looking kind of flat and weird, you can just give it a shake and they'll puff right back up. I have them in between rounds 11 and 12, and they're about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or so stitches apart. And it's okay if they look really far apart right now. We are going to do some face shaping to bring them closer together. So once you're happy with the placement of your eyes, you can just pop the backings on them. For the next round, we're going to make 3 single crochet and then a decrease stitch 2 times. So 1, 2, 3 single crochet and then a decrease. And then I'm going to do that one more time. And then for the last round of the head, we're going to do 2 single crochet and a decrease 2 times. So I'm going to do 1 and 2 single crochet and then a decrease stitch. And then I'm going to do that one more time. And then before we close this hole here, I'm going to make sure to tuck a whole bunch more stuffing into the nose to really make sure that it's sticking out where it's supposed to be. Okay, so once you have your nose stuffed how you want, you can go ahead and tie off your yarn. And then I'm just going to thread this tail onto my embroidery needle. And to close up this hole, I'm just going to weave my tail and out of each one of these 6 stitches. And then to close it, just want to pull it tight. And then I'm just going to take this extra tail here and tuck it into the head out of the way and cut the excess off. And then we are going to add a few details to really bring this to life. The first thing I'm going to have you do is grab a scrap piece of your tan yarn, and we are going to do some shaping on the face to, like I said earlier, kind of bring these eyes together. So what I'm going to have you do here is, starting at the top center of this eye, you're going to go right over to the top center of the other eye and pull that through. And then just about 1 stitch over here, I'm going to go in and straight down to the same spot on the bottom of the eye. And pull that through. And then I'm going to go in about 1 stitch over on the bottom of the eye and go to the bottom of the other eye, just like that. And then again, about 1 stitch over, I'm going to go up to the top of this same eye. Right where our yarn was first inserted. And then to shape the face here, I'm just going to tie these 2 ends together pretty tightly. And then you can just weave in any extra yarn tails that you have left. And then I'm going to take a scrap piece of white yarn, and we're going to add some little white details around the outside of the eyes. So I'm just going to thread this onto my embroidery needle and insert it at the top center of one of my eyes and have it kind of come off to the side here. And then I just pulled the yarn off the needle, and I'm going to rethread it onto the other end of the yarn. And this just gives me a little bit more control as to where I can put the yarn. And then I'm going to go straight down to the bottom center of the same eye and have the yarn come out where we first inserted it. And then once you pull that tight, it's just going to give you this little white detail on the side of the eye. And then you can just tie these two ends here together and tuck them into the head. And then you're going to want to repeat this again on the other eye. For the next thing we're going to do here is attach our ears. So I'm just going to take the tail that's left on my ear and thread it onto my embroidery needle. And then I want to attach this at least one row back of my loop stitches. So I'm just going to fold down kind of that front row of loop stitches and then place one of my ears here. And then once you're happy with the placement, you can just make a couple of stitches through the head. And then you can go ahead and just tie off your yarn once you're happy with it and weave the extra into the head. And then I'm just going to repeat this again on the other side as well with the other ear. The next thing we're going to do is make the nose. So to do that, I just have a piece of brown yarn on my embroidery needle, a scrap piece, and I'm just going to weave this straight through the nose. And then I'm going to loop this yarn a few times around those stitches to create a little nose. So just going back around into the same spots. I'm just going to loop this around a couple times. And then once you're happy with how that looks, you can go ahead and just tie these two ends together. And then weave the excess into the head. So here is the little head all finished. You could totally add like eyebrows, which I might go in and do that later. The very last step of this pattern is to sew the head to the body. And since we didn't have a tail anywhere, I'm just going to use a scrap piece of brown yarn. This can be tricky because of the loop stitches, and also I wanted to mention that you can decide which way your body goes. So like I said before, you can leave these kind of feet hanging loose, or you can tack them down if you want. You can sew your head on this side so that there's some more space here at the top and the bottom, or you can sew the head on up here so that there's more space from the bottom of and top of the arms and feet. I'm going to sew my head on up here. So I'm just going to kind of lay these loop stitches down and take my head and line it up on the body where I want it. And you do want the two tan parts of the head and the body to be touching when you sew it on. So the head might be a little bit rolled forward, and that's okay. And then I only have one Amy stick because I don't know where I put the other one. But I'm going to stick that on there to help me sew the head to the body, because like I said, this can be a little bit tricky with all the loop stitches in the way. And then I just have my brown yarn here on my embroidery needle, and to sew this on, I'm going to start at the front and just kind of grab a stitch from under the chin and pull that through, but make sure to leave a pretty long tail on this other side so that the yarn doesn't come undone. And then I'm just going to grab a stitch from the body in the same kind of spot, pull that through, and I'm just going to kind of slowly turn, and I'm going to repeat this same thing all the way around. So grabbing another stitch from the head, and then another stitch from underneath the body, and as we get into the loop stitches here, I'm just going to do the best I can to kind of separate them and move them out of the way, and you just want to continue to do this all the way around until your head is fully sewn on. And then after you've gone all the way around the head and you've back to where you started, you can just tie the two ends together really nice and tight to make sure that the head is really secure. And then cut the extra tails off and just weave them into the body. And here is the little hedgehog all finished. So cute. This is what the back looks like. I hope you guys enjoyed making this sweet pattern as much as I did. If you do make this pattern, I would absolutely love to see your pictures, and you can tag me on Instagram at Crochet with Kira. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.